Hi there. My name is Paul Ward, and I just want to welcome you, first of all, to this short webinar, short presentation, primarily all about mindset. Mindset right now is something that we all really need to be considering. What is our mindset? What does it mean to us? What if you were able to change your mindset? How would you be able to work on developing the mindset of your team, or your family, or the people around you, and support them in developing a more helpful, productive, positive mindset? And the little quote at the beginning there, "Are you riding your elephant?" is from something I read some time ago as regards to having control over your thoughts. Are you riding your elephant, or is your elephant guiding you in the right direction? But let's start just with an introduction from me. My name is Paul Ward. I'm an executive coach, and my business is Solace Coaching. I'm a certified master practitioner and trainer of NLP, or neuro-linguistic programming, which I use in a lot of my coaching and training, and help people to get a better understanding of how they think the way they do, to allow people to learn and develop the skills to understand NLP at a deeper level, and in many ways find out how we can make change in our lives in a positive way. I'm also a practitioner of timeline therapy and hypnosis, of which I won't be discussing too much today, but certainly I can always let you have some detail about that should you be interested. And I'm also a business trainer and a practitioner in a wonderful tool called Motivational Maps, which is what the three words at the bottom are relating to: search, a build, a spirit. That's my three top motivators currently in my motivational map. It means I'm looking for a meaning and purpose. I am focusing on the commercial aspect of my business, and I like freedom as regards to spirit there. So I like freedom and autonomy to do the things that I like to do, which leads me straight into what is mindset. So just consider that now, maybe jot down what you think mindset means to you. And just think, what kind of mindsets work well for you in certain contexts or certain situations. And also have a thought. Has there been times when you've been in a particular mindset where actually it's been particularly unhelpful? You find yourself stuck. You're not able to move from one place to the other, maybe not physically, but certainly in regards to your work or your career, or just setting goals for yourself, or maybe in health and fitness, maybe all that kind of stuff as well. So just consider that now. And when you consider a time when you were in a less than positive or productive mindset, then consider a time when you were in a really good mindset, real positive, really highly motivated, that you could achieve anything. Now, wouldn't it be great if you were able to move from one to the other by understanding what's going on around you? Or more importantly, what's going on inside your mind? So let's just take one look at this slide here. I'll give you a few seconds just to look at it. I'm going to take it off screen in a second because I'd just be interested to know what you saw when you looked at that slide. So let's pop back again. I'm sure, as we often do in our training, a lot of people will shout out, "Opportunity is nowhere." And a few people in the room often look back at that slide and say, "Hang on a minute, I see opportunity is now here." Now, your mindset could have a big effect on which way you see that. It's one sentence, but we read it in two different ways. And now, just have a quick look at the next slide. I'm going to pop onto it in a second and then pop back onto this slide. I'll ask you a simple question. Can you just count the amount of F's that you see in this sentence? It'll only be up for a very short while. So how many of the letter F can you see? Here we are. So a simple sentence that you have an opportunity to read whilst I'm talking to you and deliberately trying to distract you. And as we go back, I'll take it off screen there. So how many did you see? Usually we get a response in a room of anything from 2 to 3. There's usually a shout of 4 that comes out somewhere. So let me go back and just have a quick look and just see what we can see. Have another read through. I'm going to leave it up on the screen there now, because as we go through it, we'll start to see that actually there's a couple of words in there that we deleted. that we almost didn't see the first time we put the slide up. So as you can see, there's an F at the beginning of finished, an F at the beginning of files. Then there's an F in the first of, an F in the second of, an F in scientific, and then we move all the way back down until we get to the final of, where the final F is. So there's six Fs there. Now that often surprises people as to a first introduction to, wow, I really do delete things. So if we deleted something as what we find as insignificant as the letter F in a simple sentence like this, imagine what we're deleting as we're out there in the world or reading emails or having conversations. And as we read this as well, I'm going to give you a few seconds just to read this through in your own mind or out loud. And as you've read that, many of you would have read, as I'm now going to, this message serves to prove how our minds can do amazing things, impressive things. In the beginning, it was hard, but now on this line, your mind is reading it automatically without even thinking about it. Be proud, only certain people can read this. Now, we have had people come up to this slide and start with, when I've asked them to read it out loud, they'll say, TH15M35554G3. Now, of course, they're absolutely right, absolutely spot on, because that is exactly what it says. And in fact, they're more correct than the people who would have said what I said as we went through the first time. Because, of course, it's nothing more than pixels on a screen. And we only generalize it to mean something because of our education, our ability to read. But our mind can generalize this random mix of letters and numbers to form a full sentence. So what's going on? Well, let's have a look. So if we look at this model here, and I could spend hours and hours going through this model, but I'm going to spend just 10 minutes or so just to explain this, because I feel that this one slide, this one understanding of this communication model here gives everything we need to know about mindset and what's going on. So if we start with the external event coming in, we take that external event through our senses, through our touch, hearing, smell, taste, and feeling. And at any one time, somebody has worked out that there is beyond 2 million bits of information out there at any one time. So clearly, we need to go through a process of generalizing, distorting, and deletion, which is what I've shown in the previous couple of slides. We have to filter out that 2 million bits of information that are continuously surrounding us. That includes all the real unconscious stuff that's happening within us, our heart beating, our cells growing, digestion of our food, etc., etc. So we delete, distort, and generalize those 2 million bits down through into approximately 130 odd pieces of information that we could become consciously aware of. And by that I mean, if I now said to you, become aware of your right toe, the big toe in your right foot, then you'll become aware of it, but it was always there, but you weren't aware of it before. We then continue to filter through this process of generalization, distortion, and deletion. So we get to 5 to 9 chunks before we actually then can consciously start working out what's going on. Now below that, you'll see where it's got those cogs in there, and these filters a bit lower down that are also contributing to how we generalize, how we distort, and how we delete, because of course we all do it in a very different way. Now meta programs relates to our own our personality, the way in which we have been, I guess, formed over a period of time, because usually by late teens, early 20s, our personality is fairly static. There are some changes throughout our life, but generally fairly static. And through that time, we would have created our values, and from our values, our beliefs. We would have made decisions in the past when faced with similar situations, and memories from either doing or not doing certain things will also be a factor in this filtering process. As we go through the filtering process and we come to these 5 or 9 chunks, what then comes out is we then create a picture in our mind made up of sounds, images, thoughts, feelings, etc., which then creates, as it's seen in green there, our internal representation related to the external event that we are now sensing. So already we've gone from this place of the external event has happened, the public speaking event, the networking event, that difficult conversation you've got to have with somebody, or maybe that fantastic gig that you've been to, or that wonderful football match, whatever it might be, that external event has gone through into our unconscious mind and then split minute amount of time has been filtered out. So we now have our internal representation related to that external event. That internal representation, how we picture the event, then puts us in a certain state. Now, for some people, as I mentioned with public speaking, that state could be one of anxious thinking, it could be one of nervousness, or it could be panic. But for some, it will be absolutely wonderful, an opportunity to get up on stage and present myself. So whatever that state is for you, that internal representation will create that state. Now, from that state, we have a physiology or a body language connected to that. So if you're the person who feels anxious or nervous about public speaking, you'll have a certain body language connected to that and a certain feeling that goes with it. If you're the person who loves public speaking and wants to get up there and just give it a go, you'll have a different but equally strong physiological response to it. So when we have that picture in our mind, when we're in a certain state, our body language, our feelings are all lined up to move forward. And as we move forward, this then leads to the behavior, what we do. Now, that goes on, as I said, in a minute space of time, in a split second. So the external event comes in, and then we behave in a certain way. And how often do you hear people say, if that didn't happen, I wouldn't feel this way, or if that didn't happen, I wouldn't behave in that way. So often we are looking to explain the way we behave based on the external event, when of course it really isn't. The external event will always stay the same. It's what's going on in our mind through this filtration process that then leads to a certain type of behavior. And that's where, in my mind, mindset comes from. Because if we know what's going on in our mind, we can then affect the filtration process, we can then have a different behavior. So as we explore further into personal development, further into our NLP training models, that actually we can work how in the deeper parts of NLP and the work that I do in my coaching to actually change some of that filters, to change the internal representation, which ultimately leads to change in the behavior. But there's small nuances all the way down there that actually we can isolate what it might be to help produce a completely different mindset when it comes to certain external events. So how about changing it? As I say, it's as simple as exploring the NLP world, exploring the opportunity to work through with an NLP coach to understand what can be done to make a change at that deeper level. So for example, if somebody who has a phobia of a certain thing, let's call it a spider or heights, or I don't know, walking through doors, green doors. It could be that, could be a green door, because that's the whole thing about phobias. It's very much irrational fear of something that most of us just don't have that. Now, if I was working with somebody with a phobia, it means one of their filters, the distortion on it, is actually working ineffectively for them. So in the case of a spider, for example, for somebody who doesn't have a phobia of spiders, when they imagine or they think of or they see a spider, it is what it is. It's a small creature that is just walking across the floor. For somebody who has a phobia of spiders or whatever it may be, when they think of that certain thing, their internal representation gets distorted to the point where it might be really, really big in their mind, or brings back instant memories of the first time they were able to run that phobic response. So we look at ways of changing that response to be able to move things forward, to make a change, to develop a different mindset. So have a think about that right now as you are listening to this at the end of this short webinar on mindset, and think to yourself, how could you learn more about changing your mindset? And just notice as well that when you are behaving in a certain way, and you would normally look at the external event that's just happened and think that that's the reason why you're feeling the way you are, And just consider for a moment, maybe it's something in your filtration process, something that you've deleted, distorted, or generalized based on your memories from the past that's creating an internal representation that's no longer helpful for you. Then maybe you'll realize that you are actually the one who is riding your elephant. And therefore, you have an opportunity to make a difference at a deeper level, to think differently and have a different mindset. So that's pretty much the end of that short webinar just on mindset, which I felt would be really helpful to put out. You have an opportunity now to connect with me either through my website. You can see my email on screen there and also my telephone number as well. So feel free to connect with me. I'd love to talk to you more about NLP and the training that we deliver and the coaching that I deliver. This is just a short introduction to one aspect of the training we do. We also do introductory days. We do introductory day online. We do our diploma, NLP diploma, over 3 days. We do a 7-day practitioner course, and at a high level we do an 8-day master practitioner course, as well as public speaking events. So thank you very much for listening. If you do have any questions, feel free to just get in touch and connect with me.